We're going to get into the principles and the strategies for the rest of the day. Questions, concerns, anything at all? No? Just stuck, yes. We'll look at that definitely. How to work with clients that get stuck on that one way. We'll definitely look at this. Who's gained already in the first couple of hours of doing this a better understanding of what I mean about doing conversational hypnosis?
Yeah.
Yes, and from the demonstration that happened before, we could not set that up more perfectly. That is exactly where I hope the sessions you do from this point forward end up going through those various cycles, so to speak. Okay, like I said, it went a little bit longer than what we had planned for, but it was there, so we used it instead. So what I want to do now is we're going to jump straight into a demonstration. Well, I'm not. We'll grab 2 more people, and we're just going to pick up where we left. All we're going to do is just explore the problem. Okay. You might be thinking, well, why are we spending so long exploring the problem? Okay. The reason for this is that's where trance exists. It doesn't exist what I do after I've explored the problem. What technique do I do? What testing cycle do I do? Where it exists in its most powerful form is through the investigation of the mindset itself. Does that make sense? Okay. So we're going to get 2 more volunteers to come up the front. We'll do the same thing, different problem. The therapist will explore the problem, find out what's, the hows, the whys. We'll get to those little nuances as well as time goes past. But then to also add as an addition, when you spot those unconscious moments, is to pay attention to them, to help them grow and to point them out. Now, however you point them out with the process instructions, whether it's, what just happened then, or did you feel that, or that's it all the way now, or something like that, that's the point we're up to. So I do want to refresh our memory from that, and then we're going to start to add some more nuances to it. Okay? So we do need 2 people to come up the front. Who would like to be one of those people? Coming up? Excellent. Have a seat. We do need 1 more person, folks.
I could jump between.
Yeah, do you want to be both? That might be the problem. We do need 1 extra person, guys. Coming up. Give a round of applause. Okay. Let me point out something that hopefully should start to clear things up. You should be fighting to get up the front here. I know it's a little bit awkward because there's a camera there and stuff like that, but this is the place where you learn. Okay? You definitely learn watching, but you'll learn more according to the way you do therapy by me being here and intervening and showing you what can be done. Does that make sense? Okay? So, since you're up first, would I be the client or the therapist?
Therapist, yeah.
Therapist, excellent. So, you are now the client. Okay? So, have a think.
I fixed my last one.
Oh, good for you.
Right. Fantastic. We can work on that.
Must have so many.
Too many to choose from, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, what about
something again that you're happy for everyone to hear?
Yeah. I hate doing housework.
Excellent. Okay, so let's start from there. You're now the client. So remember, the only things you need to pay attention to is when you see Janice have an unconscious moment, draw her attention to it. Say, what was that, or how are you feeling, or did you notice that? And let's just see if it deepens the trance, if it pulls Janice out of the trance, if better information comes up. Once we've gone through the cycle, as we've seen before, then we're going to start looking at pausing strategically.
Sure.
Okay? So go ahead, start where you wish, and let's just see what happens. And again, if you get caught in a place you don't know what to do, that's what I'm here for.
Sure. So Janice, what is the problem?
I really hate doing housework.
Hate doing housework. Why?
Yeah, because I don't know. I just don't like it. I think that I avoid it. Yeah, maybe I don't exactly hate it. I avoid it, I guess, is my problem.
Okay. Avoid it. Why do you think that is?
I'd rather do other things.
And let's pause right there. Good so far. Okay. I want to bring up one thing, and it's a common thing we all do, and this is just something to highlight as well, is the question why. When we ask a question why. Okay. What can happen with a why strategy is it can start to cement things in to become more real than what they are. So if someone's in a negative way, it's very unlikely that we should be asking, why do you feel that way? Why do you feel that that's so bad for you? Because what's going to come out of a why strategy is a lot of excuses. The reason why they're here is because of the whys they have spent too longer thinking about. Okay? So an alternative to a why question is a what question. Instead of asking a client, why do you feel that, or why do you think that is, what makes you feel that, or what makes you think, to see what happens. With that in mind.
So where were you at last?
I'd rather do other things.
What sort of
Anything.
Who wouldn't, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty much anything.
Anything. Okay. So what other anythings could you be doing?
Oh, wow.
Let's pause right there. Okay. Anyone notice the question that got asked? What could you be doing? That's the anything. Nice question, but is it getting us any closer to the problem? No. What Janice is going to give us is a list. Her telling me she'd rather watch TV or go outside, go have a cigarette, go punch a punching bag, go hunt for squirrels, whatever Janice wants to do.
Interesting.
is getting too far away from what the actual problem is. And right now I have no idea what it is. Okay, I don't really even know what she's talking about. Okay, so just be aware of that as well. I don't want my client to tell me what they rather do, because if they already knew that, they'd be doing it. Okay, there's a backflip on that. Okay, so what do we know so far? Let's take it from scratch. What do we know?
Hates housework.
Yep, so there's something to do with housework. She's either, I'm not sure if you even said hate, or she might have implied it, but I'm sure it was in there somewhere. And she'd rather be doing other things.
Other things.
That's all we know. Can we fix Janice?
No.
If you had a choice to go to a movie, to watch that movie, and that's all you knew about the movie, would you go see it? I don't know the details. I don't know what makes her feel like she do other things. What she's avoiding housework for. What does she get from avoiding the housework? What is the housework doing to her that makes her want to avoid it? These are all questions we need to ask ourselves, and through implication ask Janice as well. Okay, so let's backtrack. Let's think. Well, all we know is Janice has said she hates housework and she hates avoiding or she avoids it because she doesn't enjoy it. What makes you curious about that? What do you get curious about?
Why housework? So, yeah.
So how could you ask that without asking her why?
What about the housework do you hate?
I hate the time it takes.
Excellent. So now we've got one more thing. Okay? So there's something of the time element in there. Okay? It's a better question than asking her what would she rather do, because she's just going to give us an excuse anyway. Okay? So from that, let's pick it up from there. I'll get you to speak up just a little bit, just so the microphone can hear you as well. Use your manly voice. Or is that something you need to speak to a therapist about?
Do the best you can, man.
Yes. Yes. Just fake it till you make it, right?
Fake it till you make it.
Yes. Okay. Remember, as a hypnotist, this is an important point, jokes aside, you need to have authority in the way we speak, okay? And it doesn't necessarily have to be volumes just so we can pick it up in the microphone. But if we come across as very timid, our client could construe that as a suggestion and not feel the confidence they'd need in order to open up about the housework, the weight, the chasing squirrels, whatever the case may be. Okay, so just bear that in mind as well. So it's a good question. Let's see what happens.
So what do you hate about the time it takes?
Excellent.
Just that it takes time, I guess. I could do other things.
Okay. And why is that a problem?
Because I want to do other things.
I want you to ask her that question again, take out the why, and put a how at the front of it.
So how is that a problem?
See the difference? Why we got an excuse? Now she has to think about it because it doesn't make sense.
How is it a problem? Because, there's only so much time, and so if I waste it on housework, then it's gone.
It's gone.
So what do you think she's trying to tell us?
Time waste.
Yep, something to do with time. Everyone noticed at the end there the way she expressed waste. That has a lot of meaning towards it. What that is, that's our job to find out. So without asking a why question, what are you curious about?
How do you see it as a waste?
Stumped her with that one. Now if you find your client confused about the question, ask her again. Repeat the question and put more emphasis in it.
So how is it a waste?
Got her again.
So how is it a waste?
I don't know.
That's right.
Never speak up. Get some feedback, find out what's happening with her.
What's happening?
Maybe waste isn't the right word.
Okay.
Because I guess it's not a total waste because I'm still doing something.
Not a total waste. So what is it?
A distraction.
Interesting. We're going to find out the from in a minute, but what a difference, right? See the difference in us and the why? Okay.
Yeah.
This is what we fix. It's not the housework. Everyone hates housework. It's the distraction. And what I'm curious about, and I know Janice well, I'm curious, what is she distracting herself from? So ask as you will. Remember, voice up, nice and authoritative.
So what are you distracting yourself from?
And we see those unconscious moments, so that's right.
What is it that you're distracting yourself from?
I don't know.
What is that?
Whatever else I could be doing.
And what is that?
Anything.
Okay.
So right now, there's been a couple of layers of confusion from a simple question, which was what? See the power of that? Are we doing anything hypnotic? It's getting hypnotic just from the very fact of asking Janice, what does she mean by all of this? What's the really underlying thing here? Now, as good practice, just for now, if you find yourself, your client just is so lost in confusion, even ask them a very logical question, they just can't piece it all together, is to get some feedback and just say, what's happening with the problem right now? And it gives us another place to start the whole process again. Does that make sense?
Sure.
There's definitely, it's got its connotations of if someone's in an unconscious moment to leave them there, but already you can see a different trance in Janice. It's not the same as what we had with Kerry. It's more upbeat, so we need to treat it as such. So what I'd like you to ask Janice is just ask her, how does she feel, reflecting on the unknown of what's happening right now in regards to the whole problem as itself. And let's just see if she gives us some new information or the real thing comes out and she says, oh, you know what? I didn't want to say this before. It's this, this, and this. Let's just see what happens.
So how do you feel about the whole problem?
So let's pause right there. Good place. But you see how Janice is spinning around almost on nothing right now? We can't progress from here because we still really don't know what the issue is, so we can't put her into a quote-unquote trance to fix it. So I'm just going to take over just for a second just to show what I'm curious about. So right now you're not even sure what the problem is, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. So what made you bring it up in the first place?
Because I hate doing the housework and I avoid it.
Mm-hmm. So now we've readdressed the problem still existing the same, but it gives us a fresh place to start.
Okay.
It's almost like we're bringing back consciousness to say, hey, I need you a little bit right now, because where she went was a little bit too far. And the trance that we need to develop her to go into is not prepared yet. Does that make sense? It's a trance of just nothing. What I want is that trance they fall into and then they go, oh my God, I just found it. That's not there yet because we don't have enough information. Okay, so give me an example of when you last hated the housework. Or actually, give me an example of when you last avoided it.
Yesterday.
Mm-hmm. So what happened yesterday?
Yesterday I thought, wow, I really need to vacuum a couple of rooms because I try to do it a little bit each day so it doesn't seem like such a pain.
Sure.
And
so I've got to pause. Something good just came out. I apologise for pausing. It's too good. What did she just tell us? Yep, definitely that. What else did she tell us? Thank you. She's already found a solution, which is I do it a little bit each day so it's not a pain. So we could almost assume maybe Janice, that's not giving her enough. She needs another way to do things because that way of doing it's just not working anymore. But she's told us, thank you.
That's my current strategy.
Okay. And that's the issue. She's told us indirectly. Do you see how we really have to pay attention to our clients? Totally different trance than before, right? Okay. So she said to us, basically, I could tell it was more unconscious because her voice lowered. It's like a secret. Okay. And again, you learn to hear this stuff. It's like, I vacuum a couple of rooms so it's not such a pain. But that's not it. It's this, this, and this. Okay, it's like the unconscious mind testing us. Are you sure you're ready to help me? Okay, we're just as an assumption. So, what's happening with it all? Why is it such a pain? Or what makes it such a pain that you have to avoid it? Let me ask you this. Through this little intervention we're having right now, what do you hope to get from it?
Somebody to clean my house.
So, what do we do with this? She knows what she wants. Did you see how that came? Now it's like she's saying basically us, can you be that person? It's not me. Why is that such an unconscious moment right then? See how quickly she came out with that? It's like the unconscious mind was waiting to say, you know what I really want? I want someone else to freaking do it. Now we have a place to start. This is why it's painful, because she has to do it, because she hasn't found that person or that thing to help her do it. Do you see how that all came out? We don't want to get sidetracked with all that, I hate this, I vacuum this. And it's like the unconscious mind has now expressed itself. You're going to get all the laughter and the stupidity from it. That's a really good unconscious moment. Okay? And the way we express it is just to basically say, look, Janice, I don't understand what you're telling me. Just freaking tell me, what is it? Bang, came out. It's like we've given her permission to. Does that make sense? Okay, so someone else do the housework for you, right? So you can do everything that they're not while they're cleaning the house, right?
Yeah.
So what are you here for then? You just haven't found that person, right? So what's the problem with all of this? There it is again.
Yeah.
What happened?
Probably.
You can tell me.
Maybe my standards are too high and I haven't found somebody who'll clean the house the way I like it to be cleaned.
Excellent. Now we're getting to the real crux of it. Make sense?
Not even me.
What's all this laughter for? It's the unconscious mind letting go of all of this. So standards are too high, right? So what do you want from me? As your therapist, or even as you got two hypnotists here, what are you hoping to get from the session? No point lowering your standards, right?
I'd consider it.
Have you?
Yeah, but it didn't work.
2 parts for those who are on masters lately with their parts integration. Okay, but we're not going to go down that road because it's not what we're here for today. Okay, so what we're saying, you've considered it, but it didn't work, right? Okay, so let me ask you this: what's so important about your standards that is not enough to go beyond the pain of doing the housework? I'll ask you. Yeah, absolutely. What's so important about your standards that's not enough to go beyond the pain of housework? I really want you to think about that. What's so important about your standards that's not enough to go beyond the housework to get it done your way?
Can you do that again?
Definitely. Only if you think about it, though. What happens when you think about it?
I start to think of something and then it disappears.
Start to think of something, then it disappears. It's like vacuuming, right?
If only.
If only, right? Takes a few turns, doesn't it? What's so important about your standards that hasn't gone beyond the pain of the housework enough? What's so important? That's it. What's so important? This has to get done properly, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's a standard. There is a standard. It's not enough, is it? It's just not enough. So what's happening right now?
I'm trying to think about what exactly the standard is.
So am I. What exactly the standard is. And probably what the standard hasn't been up until this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's a standard. And there's a what to that standard. Indeed. So what happens when you think about what the standard is? What's that?
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense, right? How could there be a standard that you want that you could expect someone else to do for you when you don't even know what it is? Doesn't make sense, does it?
No, not really.
Is there something we know about standards? Changes, doesn't it? With people. So what's happening right now as you think about the standard?
I'm thinking that if I avoid it and I don't do it, it doesn't meet the standard anyway.
That's right, so you lose either way. So let me get this straight, just so I'm clear. Regardless of if you do the housework or not, it still doesn't meet your standard. So what's the problem?
I don't think I have one anymore.
I would tend to agree with you. Don't ever think your clients won't come in for something as small as this. There's not really a lot of substance to this, okay, because we asked Janice to think on the spot. Does that make sense? So it's not really painful, but it's a nice fun way to do an intervention. Now I will, sorry for jumping in your spot, but
it is actually something that does annoy me.
What's happening right now? Unconscious mind is saying, well, let's make it important, because this could actually be fixed. So thinking about it now, does it still annoy you?
Not as much.
So do you see we were fixing something underneath the non-existing problem? Now, this is a really good example, because the unconscious mind, we played around the language. I'll talk about that in a moment, okay, which we just basically combine the two ideas together. Because where Janice was caught was, I hate doing housework, but it has to go to a certain standard if I do it. I'm not doing housework, so it's not meeting that standard. I'm lost in this thing, whether I do it or do not, I'm screwed either way. Okay? Now what's come out, and I did this indirectly, was just saying it's not a real problem. So the unconscious mind has come out and said, hang on, yes it is. I'll make it a real problem because I can fix this. So it's almost testing in reverse. It's like when we say to a client, I think you'll still smoke. But that's just me, that's my opinion. I won't smoke. I reckon you will. So is that indirect testing? Okay. So what's happening with the problem right now? How do you feel about housework?
It's not my favourite thing.
Better place than before, right? It's not your favourite thing, right? Not your favourite thing. And whose would it be, right? I wouldn't want to meet that person. Right?
Yep.
I hate to be that person. They would spend all their time cleaning the house and enjoying it. But for the majority of us, hate it but get something from it. Because once it's done, it's done. So regardless of whether you do one room at a time, 1 day a week, or you do it all on a Sunday or a Monday, who cares how you do it, as long as it meets the standard of you doing it, right? Or did I misunderstand everything?
No, that's right.
Any questions?
No.
Okay, it's very short interventions. Then we're going to need questions for Janice. I'll explain what happened. Okay, very different intervention again. So what's occurred right here, and I'll show you the bit in the middle that we did just with the language itself, is Janice was excluding housework and pain. They were two separate things to her, okay? And she didn't want to do either because she didn't like either. So she was stuck in the middle. And all I've done is combined them together and said, well, who says you can't feel pain and hate doing housework, but as long as you get it done? And now it's to the point, well, I guess I can put up with the pain long enough as long as the housework gets done to my standard. See how that came about. Again, it's one of those interventions you'll have to watch the footage again. But she was excluding. It's painful, but I have to do the housework. I don't like the housework. I don't like it's being painful. I'm screwed either way. So now we combine the problem together. We haven't said it doesn't have to be painful because that's not my job. I've said basically, why don't you just do the housework to the extent you know it's going to be painful, get it done and just get over it. Make sense? Questions?
That makes perfect sense.
I hope so. Okay. Any questions from your side? Does that be a bit more apparent, especially the question you asked me before?
Yeah, it
okay.
is actually.
Where we get lost is asking a lot of why questions, what questions, to try and tease out feelings. What I'm saying is let's go a place above that and just ask any old question, but notice the responses. Now, we didn't get a lot of unconscious moments. We got a big one during the middle, which let us know it sort of opened up the jar, so to speak, for all this new stuff to come out. Okay? So, being that I took over your role, if you're happy to stay the therapist, and I'll get you another volunteer. Okay. Give Janice a round of applause. Thank you. Okay. Stay here. Okay. Stay there. Can we grab another volunteer that's got a more of a painful problem? Of course you can. Yes. Come on up. Have a seat. You want to get it over with, right? Yes. Can I point something out that I think is marvellous, especially on your behalf? Do you see a difference for Atlana as before?
Yeah.
Okay. As she said before, she wants to break through the problem. See how ready and keen she is before? Whereas before, I didn't even feel like she was ready to actually take that on board as I'm ready to do this. So already this is a breakthrough. Okay? Can we, Beck, get tissues ready just in case? Oh yeah, we'll get some fresh ones. She's prepared. Talk about a client being prepared for you, right? So when they walk in your office and go, I'll pay you first. I bought my own tissues, my own water, bought my own blanket. You're a perfect client. Just bring them up anyway. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the excellent job you've done.
Yeah, very good job. She's very, very proud. A big difference. Although she's still saying, I want to break through it, you can see the underlying stuff. A different person already. Okay? Leaning forward, she's keen. It sucked for us just to go, hang on, we're not going to start yet. She's gone, now I want to do this now. Okay? So again, we'll take it as, when you've had enough, please let us know, but let's just see what we can do with it. Okay? So you
need to just let me know when it is enough.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be right here for you. Okay? So ask away. Ask her as if we haven't explored this problem before. What's the problem? And just see what comes up. Yeah, absolutely.
You feeling comfortable? Excellent.
Good question.
So what's the problem?
My problem is I find myself to be I find myself to be like not comfortable enough in like a group of people.
Okay.
It's almost like I'm scared of people.
Scared?
Yeah.
How's that a problem?
That's a problem. I don't want to feel that way.
Okay. So what way do you want to feel?
Like easy.
Easy. That's good. What else?
Confident.
Easy. Confident.
Remember, speak up.
What else?
I'm gonna restrict you from asking a what question, just for now.
Okay, just for now. Okay.
Yep, let's just see what you can do.
I'm good.
What are you curious about? This is a good question to ask yourself. It was presented to me when I was first learning, was what am I curious about while what my client's telling me? What gets me thinking? Where are they caught? What are they trying to tell me? What's she trying to express to me? When you start to ask yourself these questions, this is where this bizarre thinking comes out, and when you present this to your clients, that's where it all starts to unfold.
Okay.
So I do that in my head. I'll backtrack and think, what do I know so far?
Okay.
So let's talk this out as if I was your mind.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do we know about Smelline? What she told us, and also forget what happened before. Don't worry about that session. This will be a totally new one.
Okay.
What are you curious? What has she told us?
I'm curious. How is it not easy?
I think it's a good question.
So how is it not easy?
It's uncomfortable, kind of, tonight.
How uncomfortable?
No, I don't want to drill that in.
No?
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question if you wanted to feel really bad, okay? But it probably won't get us, okay? And we don't want that. She's so nice, okay? It might be an okay question, but we've got to start to think in terms of, is the question I'm about to ask getting me closer to what the real issue is? Because right now she hasn't told me. Okay, and I really don't know what it is. I still don't. Okay? Or is the question I'm asking just cementing in her thoughts that'll really do nothing for both of us? Okay? So for you as a therapist right now, I want you to slow right down.
Yeah.
Even if it takes you a minute before you ask another question, we can talk it out that way. Okay? So we know right now that there's some sort of feeling of uncomfortable around people, right? And you don't want it. Would that be the case? You don't want it, right? She wants to feel something else. That's all we know. Okay? So we'll get you curious from that.
Okay.
What are you wondering about? There's something to do with people. There's something to do with feeling uncomfortable. Something to do with people and feeling uncomfortable.
What about people make you feel uncomfortable?
Sometimes I just feel like if I say wrong thing, people just kind of judge me. And I'm scared to say the wrong thing.
Scared?
Yeah.
Better question, right? Because now we're combining the two. Now we're finding out what exactly is it about people. Okay?
When do you feel this?
In a bigger group of people. Like one-on-one is okay. But when it comes to... Maybe sometimes it comes to people that I don't know.
Excellent. See what happened there?
Yep.
That was a little unconscious mind giving you a little bit extra. Now, if you ignore that,
Yep.
it probably won't help us anymore.
Yep.
Okay? So we need to find out what that was.
So when you're around unknown people, uncomfortable.
It's not being around people is uncomfortable, but it's almost like if I have to interact with them,
Okay.
it gets a bit kind of
What sort of interaction?
speaking, talking to them.
To unknown people.
Have a speak up.
Oh, okay. We need to work on that, maybe.
Might swap chairs afterwards. So what are you curious about? Just giving us some good stuff, and I do appreciate you actually sharing this with us because I know this is important.
Yeah.
Okay. What do we know so far?
Unknown people,
Yep.
uncomfortable.
So we've got a lot of themes to play with. There's something to do with groups of people, okay, that's not one-on-one.
It's not one-on-one.
It's groups of people, but not one-on-one. That's a clue for now.
Yeah.
Okay. When I interact with people, that's when I feel uncomfortable. There's this, and this. It's not taking anything away from our problem. The rest was just rubbish. What I'm curious about is groups of people,
But no one-on-one.
not one-on-one.
So what is it about groups of people, but not one-on-one, that you feel?
See what just happened then? Just let her think about it.
Because I think I'm just a bit shy, and when it's like one-on-one, the attention is on me, so there's nobody else to come and kind of, because it's only two people, okay? So when there's many people, it's almost like you get shy.
That's a good question.
What I'm curious about,
Speak up.
what I'm curious about is why in the group of people? And what is it about?
Thank you.
Because I feel shy.
Because of the shy.
So do you see how that common theme is repeating itself?
Yeah.
Because she's not avoiding the question, or she could be unconsciously because the unconscious mind not ready to express itself. I'm going to ask some questions just to jump on your spot and just see if this helps at all. So there's something to do with groups of people that's different than one-on-one, right? So what are you doing that's so special during a one-on-one interaction that you haven't considered about doing it with a group? Just really think about it, because like you said, you can talk to people one-on-one and interact, and it's fine, right?
But sometimes I think that, because sometimes I make mistakes in my speak English.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that. Sometimes maybe I don't want to make mistakes.
Sure, I understand that. Do you make those mistakes in front of one person?
Probably.
It doesn't bother you then, right?
Well, it's not as embarrassing.
It's not as embarrassing, right? There's more people listening, right?
Yeah.
So how do you know that's the case?
What's
Well, how do you know that if in groups of people, and you do make a mistake, how do you know they all picked up on it?
What's more chances they're going to pick it up?
More chances, right?
The person.
Well, when you think about it, when one person gives you all of their attention, that person wouldn't be more likely to pick it up, wouldn't you say?
Pardon?
If you're with one person and they're putting all the attention that you deserve when you're talking to them, wouldn't they be more likely to pick up on your mistakes? Because you know what happens in groups, right?
And it's only embarrassing one fault.
Sure. Instead of many, right?
Yeah.
So what's the problem?
It's probably been embarrassed so many times, like so many faults.
Yep. Give me an example when this happened last, when you were in a group of people. Or do you avoid it altogether? Yeah, right? So do you have something in your life that involves you talking in groups of people?
No, because I avoid it.
Okay. How's that going for you?
I don't know.
So what's so important about talking in front of groups of people then? If you've lived your life up until now avoiding it and being okay with it.
Because I know it's not me. I just don't want to be like that.
What just came out then? It's not me. I had a little bit more juice, if you will, and it's like a metaphor. So I know that's the unconscious mind saying this is what it is. It's very quick, It's not you, right? Because you've got the gift as a person to be able to speak in front of many people and change the way they think, right? Especially with what you're doing now with your study.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess if you're talking in groups of people, more people get to hear about the fabulous you than just the one, right?
Yes.
So what's happening right now as you think about everything?
Well, it just reinforces that I should be
It does.
comfortable, but I'm not.
That's right. How do you know? Because you've been avoiding it for so long.
How do I know?
Yeah, how do you know? Been such a long time. Maybe people have changed since then.
Well, people can't change. Maybe I changed.
Maybe you changed.
Yeah.
What just came out then? Taking the blame away from the people. I think she just got it. It's weird, us that changes. Okay? Now it's your turn.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Good job, by the way. Okay, thank you for sharing. I really do mean that. Okay? Especially on a sensitive issue. So we know right now there's something when Svetlana said it's not me, and maybe it's me that's changed.
Yep.
What are you curious about?
What's changed about you?
What a deep question to ask somebody.
Depends.
Ask her again.
So what has changed about you?
I don't know if anything changed about me, but I just remember from school, from high school, when I had to stand in front of a class and talk. I didn't like that.
What's just happened now? It's like a spontaneous regression going back. Had you thought about that thought before?
Yeah.
Yep. So it's come up as a recurring thing. Had you heard this before when you were talking? Yep. Now you've got to think, why didn't she tell us this before? See how the unconscious mind grabs it and pulls it back in and doesn't want to explore it? Okay. So something's interesting. She's caught in a time. Okay. This thing with time today, guys. This is great. Okay. It's caught in a time that. And I don't want to ruin this, but it might end up collapsing at any moment, but who knows. Something happened in school that you didn't like when you were talking in front of people, right? But now she's grown up and she's stuck in that old way of thinking, although she was young then and is older now. That's where you find yourself, okay? So this is the loop she's caught in. So until this gets resolved, that thought, whether it's presented or not, that's the track she's stuck on. It's like the train going around the station, it can't move.
Everything happened in the past. When I was in high school, I remember year 6 was fine, was good. I remember year 7, 8, 9 and 10. It was kind of good in a way. It was nothing dramatic happened. It was okay. But somehow my parents decided to put me in a different class, year 11.
Sit, take your time. Just sit on that for a moment. It's spontaneously working on itself right now, okay? You just sit there for a moment, okay? We get some water, guys, please. Okay. Just want to think about it. Okay, you're doing a good job, really good job. Okay. There was a little bit of avoidance in there as well. It's like the unconscious mind is saying, here we go, are you sure about this? Yep, let's have this. Okay, there you go, have some water, just relax for a bit, okay? I just want you to absorb whatever that is. I'm going to talk over here, and then we'll come back to you in a moment, okay? Just so there's no rush on this. So the question you asked is, you've got to reflect. So something's happened in the past that you're dragging into now. Why is that? But that's too logical.
Yes.
So the way you've said it, regardless of the language, is basically saying, okay, what's so important that happened in the past that makes you want to hold on to it now so you still have it now? That's essentially the type of question we're asking, is to say, let it go. Like, we can't say that.
Yes.
We can say it indirectly, and hopefully that's enough to do it indirectly. But just like with Kerry, when we're saying letting it go, I'm basically saying let go of whatever that is and then move on into the future, because this is the you now. It's not you back then.
Yeah.
Okay? And I would suspect as the details came up about year 6 and 7. Can anyone remember any events that happened in year 6 or year 7? Okay. For me, I think back and think, God, I wouldn't know what happened in year 6 and 7. So I know Svetlana's in a bit of a trance for those details to start coming out. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, there's a bit of an avoidance there when she was saying, yeah, it happened in year 6 or 7, but it was okay, but then this happened. Yeah, it was okay, but then this, and it's going around that avoidance strategy, which is fine. We can deal with that. Okay. So, how are you feeling right now?
Yeah, good time.
Yep.
So,
take your time.
everything was fine. And then somehow my parents put me into this private class where they had only 6 students. About 6 students. Because they're trying to get me ready for uni, so they thought, 6 students, it's better, better. They have better chances of teachers' attendance and how they deliver the material to students. So they put me into this class. And somehow there was 4 girls and 2 boys. No, it was 4 boys and 4 girls. I can't remember. Maybe it was 10 people. I can't remember.
Can I have to interject here something I think it's really going to help you. I'll just have to bring this up. What was the problem talking in front of small groups? Now she's in a class with small groups. Do you see how that's all interlinked somewhere? Can everyone hear that just as expressing itself? You've got to be wondering why. I wonder what she's obviously had something bad, if you will, happen in that small group in school, which we're about to find out, okay, that's dragged on the theme of small groups into the now. Do you see the complexities of that when you really pay attention? Okay. So if you find your client can't get to the details, it's because it's as if they want to tell us the story completely. I think it helps us.
Sure.
So we can just almost stop them and not be rude about it. Just say, look, I understand that bit. So what exactly happened? Let's get to the punchline.
Okay.
Okay. So what exactly happened? If you're happy to talk about it, of course.
Yeah, I remember. There was these 2 girls in the class. There was only 4 girls. And, 2 of them, they kind of ganged up together and started teasing me. So
just sit on that for a moment. Okay. Just let it comes in waves. I know, you're doing a really good job. Okay. Okay. If you think of the regression we did, isn't this just what's happening? But where's all the touch on the shoulder? Go back there now. Spontaneously coming up. So we really have to monitor because we do care about our clients and just let this unfold naturally. Just the very fact of venting this in front of strangers is enough for that to come out, then the good stuff will come out or get connected. Okay? Because if this happened in year 5 or 6, she's dragged it on for a long time. That's accumulated a lot of stuff on the way. So just the very fact of almost taking the lid off this and just pouring all the water out, as in tears, is enough where I can start to have a resolution. Everyone follow where we're going right now? Nothing hypnotic, is there? She is. We're not. She's doing a spontaneous regression on herself. We're just talking it through.
2 people as opposed to one-on-one.
Can you hear the common theme in that? It's 2 people, it's one-on-one. One-on-one's okay because I can fight for myself. As soon as there's more than one, I instantly go back into what happened in year 5 or 6, which was these mean girls ganged up on me. Okay? Alright.
So it actually happened in year 11. So those 2 girls, they
There you go.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
They kind of became really aggressive towards me. But in my country, like ganging up against somebody was kind of cool. Like it was really fashionable at the time. Maybe it still is. So it's almost like a strength to kind of to be like a bully is a strength, and to kind of
sit on that. Everyone knows what she's about to say. This is the resolution about to come out. Okay? I don't want to talk about it now until it comes out, then I'll explain. Can everyone pick up what's about to happen right now?
So until year 11, I had friends. Even though I remember I was I was almost like a loner.
That's it. Sit on it for a bit. Okay. Just take your time. There's no rush with this. And you're happy to continue, of course.
Yeah, and I had a couple of friends. It was okay. But since those two girls ganged up, they kind of ganged up with other girls or other classes. Even though, even the younger ones in high school. So they used to tease
what's the problem with all of this?
So they used to tease me a lot. So I couldn't even say a word. They had something to say to me all the time. So
what is all of this in the past? And I understand that it's got some sort of feelings. What does all of that, and I mean all of it, have to do with you in groups to today?
I don't know.
That's where I want her to be.
Okay.
The information coming out is not to take anything away, but that could pour on for hours and hours and hours, and we do have to put a stop to it. Not because we're being rude, it's just not going to help her anyhow. Okay? Now, what I can assume is occurring right now, okay, and probably just by saying this it might release something, is, like she said, it was almost fashionable to be a bully. Can't imagine Svetlana being a bully. So she feels left out. What a weird place to be, that bullies are the people that get accepted, okay, compared to the nice, genuine people who couldn't do that at any point in their life, and those people get rejected. What a weird world to live in. Do you see how that's all come out? So no wonder she's lost. It's basically saying, I don't have the heart to be a bully, but all these other girls could. How could they do this to me, but I couldn't do it back to them? There's no strength, there's no power there. So as soon as she gets confronted with more than one person, she goes back into that mode. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay. I can tell just by talking about it, it's starting to release a bit. Okay.
So I remember one day they even bashed me. They took me to the school about.
That's it. Let's sit on that for a moment. And realistically, we don't need to know that information. Okay, I understand. I would rather us just work through it than have to worry about it. Make sense? Okay, so I just want you to sit on that for a moment. This is important. Okay, and I really admire Svetlana talking about this so freely. That takes a lot of courage, and I do mean that. A client going through all of those memories again is not going to serve them. Okay, what I'm more interested in is we need to almost stop. This is consciousness coming out, trying to explain things to. We're totally past the unconscious moment that already happened. We need to draw her attention back to that. Okay, are you happy for me to take over? Just a little bit more sensitive. Okay, how are you feeling? All good? You happy to talk about it still? Okay. So all of the stuff happened in the past, I understand that. And look, I don't really need to know the details, okay? You'd probably want to fix it rather than going through the details, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder what all of that in the past has to do with everything that's now.
It's almost like I used to be confident before, but since that happened, I just lost my confidence.
That's right. So you were confident before, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Confident before. And then something happened, then you weren't.
Because I've never seen my parents fight. I've never seen anyone fight before that.
Mm-hmm.
So I never learned the conflict resolution.
That's right.
From my parents, so I never knew how to.
So you're still learning, right?
Yeah. So I never knew how to
You're
answer
still
back to them.
learning. I know. You're still learning. So you know the good thing about learning, even if you get it wrong, it's still a lesson.
Yeah.
So I guess all those times being in front of people gets you aware and makes you learn the lessons you need to deal with it in the future. Right?
Yeah.
All those times you found yourself in a group with more than one person feeling the things you don't want to feel was just training for the big picture, wouldn't you say?
Perhaps.
Perhaps, right? How do you feel about talking in front of groups right now?
I feel embarrassed because I'm crying.
Mm-hmm. But aside that, how do you feel about it all? Nothing to be embarrassed about. We all do it. I've been there.
Because I can't see them, so.
Oh, it's a revenge thing now, is it?
No, it's not. It's just I can't see them. I mean, these people here, so it doesn't feel like I'm not talking to them, so.
Of course, you're not.
Yeah.
You're not. So I guess when you're talking to people, those people aren't them, are they? In the groups, that is.
I'm not sure.
You're going to have to think about it. Well, think about it. The times where you found yourself in a group that was nothing but bad, right? What was all the other ways you missed to talk to those people? It was exactly the way you're doing it now.
So you met people in high school?
No, to the now.
Pardon?
To now.
I don't really understand.
I know. Okay, see what's happening is the loop going back to high school over and over. I have to avoid that because she's going to get stuck in there and that's not going to give us anything. Okay, so have you had a scenario yet where you've talked in front of people and felt like this? Regardless of high school, forget about that for a moment.
No,
Okay, so how do you know it's still an issue then?
it's not.
So what's the problem?
It's not talking in front of people. It's talking to people.
Mm-hmm. Have you had that situation since high school? Talking in front of a group or talking to people in a group before?
Oh, yeah.
So what happened? Run me through that.
I would usually not say much.
Right? Yeah, and what's wrong with that?
It's... Oh, it's almost like I tell myself, don't say anything.
Right. You almost tell yourself.
Yeah.
Almost tell yourself.
Yeah.
See the consciousness nearly flicked over that? Almost tell yourself. So I guess we need to find out a way to tell yourself everything else.
Yeah.
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 So what happens when you think about the problem right now?
My original problem.
How do you feel about what happened at high school right now?
Well, because I couldn't understand.
How do you feel about it now, just even thinking about it? Regardless of what happened or what didn't happen, how do you feel about it now reflecting on high school when that situation occurred?
I'm feeling different.
Mm-hmm. Who believes what she just said? Something's happening. Whereas before, you hardly even talk about it, so we're teasing things out slowly, we're letting that out. Okay? So I'm still a little bit confused. What makes this such an issue, talking in front of people, in a group of people and getting the attention, all that stuff, if you've lived a life just avoiding it? What's so important about getting in front of those groups of people?
Just social life.
Mm-hmm. What's wrong with the way you're doing social life right now?
I don't do it.
Mm-hmm. And being social important to you?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. For what reason? Now I'm asking that because I've got no leverage. There's no motivation for her to change right now. That's the loop she's caught in. I need to find out, why would she do it? Why would she go out there? What's so important about being social?
Getting to know people.
Mm-hmm.
Or even...
Can you just do it one at a time?
That's what I've been doing.
How's that been going? Met some good people?
Yeah. But it's different too.
It is different, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's different. It's different. Groups of people, different, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I kind of avoid having social life just because of that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel good in just being in my family.
Mm-hmm. You feel good about being with your family, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it's actually, if those people, circle of people that are close to me or know me well, I feel comfortable. But if they know...
Now I understand.
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah.
So all the people that don't know you well enough, they haven't just been taught yet, have they?
Yeah.
So you're out there on a mission to teach everybody?
No. I don't want to teach them. I just don't want them to think I'm different to them.
How do you know that's the case?
Because sometimes I just don't blend in, or I don't think I can relate to them.
Yeah. And how do you think they're feeling when they're seeing you be like that in a group of people?
I don't know.
All right. It's got to be something, doesn't it?
But I never asked anyone. So.
Be a silly question to ask, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Awkward, that's for sure.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to hang around that person if they asked me. That'd be silly. All right.
Perhaps, yeah.
So how do you know, or how do you get to the point of thinking that those people are thinking the very thoughts you're having?
Because you can tell. Body language.
How? What do you have to see in order to know that that's what's occurring?
Sometimes you get like a good silence.
Is that what you get, or is that what I get?
What I hear being with people, it's always like, what is that? Now what? And like I'm scared to say something.
So why bother?
That's why I don't bother.
Sounds like a good plan to me.
But it's not an ideal plan, I guess.
Now we're getting somewhere. So what is? What's ideal? What's not ideal about the plan you have?
Ideal is just to be comfortable.
Let me ask you this. What do you think comfortable people do differently that you're not?
They just don't care about what other people think.
Interesting. They just don't care.
Yeah.
They just don't care.
I don't know why I can.
I don't either. Because confident people don't.
No.
People that can talk well in front of people don't. People that are what we call the life of the party, they sure don't. So I guess it's just all us caring people, right?
Yeah, but sometimes I'm scared because if I don't form my sentences properly, people can think she's stupid or something, things like that.
It's one thing we know about people.
Yeah.
Right? It's not what confident people do.
No.
I'm sure confident people stuff up more sentences than you because they talk more than you. So they're in a worse situation, but they don't care.
Yeah.
I'm always curious about how people do that. I was very shy as a kid. Very, very shy.
Yeah.
Stop caring. It doesn't matter if you make a mistake if you don't care. Or is it you caring too much? That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. How's that working for you?
It's not.
Right. So what's the problem?
That's my problem.
See how all of that was a long circle for where we are right now? Something to do with maybe I care too much when I speak to people, that's why I can't do it. Okay. Let me ask you this. How do you know what to say to people when you can talk, like your friends or family that say when they know you well enough, everything's okay? How do you know what to say to them that makes you feel good?
Because it just comes naturally.
Just comes naturally.
You don't have to put any effort into it.
That's right. But in groups you do, right?
In groups you got to consider, is that the wrong thing to say or is the right thing to say? What's the right thing to say?
Right.
So I think it's best like just say nothing.
That's a pretty good plan. So what's wrong with that plan?
Well, it's not the best plan.
What would you get from talking in front of groups of people and knowing what to say and feeling comfortable? What would you get from that? More chances to make mistakes, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, but that wouldn't be the focus.
What would be then? You mean you'd not focus on making mistakes? Who would have thought?
It shouldn't be. Yeah.
It shouldn't be, that's right.
What would I get?
What would you get what would you get more of when you're not focusing on what you should say?
Have more fun.
Have more fun, right?
Yeah.
Have more fun. The same fun you have with one-on-one or something different.
Yeah, it's similar.
So, To the point now you've been avoiding things because that's the only plan you had, like you said. Okay. And you said if you stopped caring so much, you'd just be able to talk naturally. You wouldn't really care about what came out of your mouth, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm curious about, and you're going to have to think about this, to what extent can you stop caring enough to enjoy what it is? To what extent can you enjoy not caring enough to enjoy what it is? I want that answer. You have to think about it.
Yeah.
To what extent can you stop caring enough to enjoy the what is?
Well, it's hard to say because
It is very hard to say.
there's no scale to it.
That's right. So you better think about it more.
Yeah. Maybe I should just stop altogether caring
That's a sound idea.
and start not caring.
Yeah. Practice that for a while. See how that goes. It's easy to not care. Because then you can be the life of the party. And then all the fun you're looking for, you become it.
Yeah.
It'd be silly of me to say that people would come to you looking for the fun you've been looking for because you stopped caring. You just were. And I know you want to fight it a little bit more. I understand that. Because if you just stop caring, right, how would you do that? Or is that something that takes practice, right?
Yeah.
So all that practicing of avoiding, you know what not to do. Now you have everything else. Isn't it good to know all the mistakes first? Exams will be a lot easier if you know what not to write.
Yeah.
Yeah, indeed. Especially at uni. Especially all the study you've done. Wouldn't it be easier to not know all the mistakes first and then get all the right stuff right? Because then it's righter than right. Right?
Yeah.
So what's happening now?
Well, you don't have to have it all right.
Indeed. You don't have to have it all right. Just some of it, right? At least you can contrast.
Or perhaps when you get it wrong, it doesn't have to be wrong. Like,
Yeah, I want you to think about that for a moment. Wouldn't it be nice just to have told her this at the very start? We just keep the pressure on. Okay? That's a different again altogether. Okay, but it just happens to be what it is. What are you curious about right now? From what you've done so far, could you follow it at some level, what we did? Yeah. The biggest issue where we'll call, probably where you were caught as well, is Svetlana wanting to keep going back into the past. Once we've got an understanding of that and we understand how far the loop goes back, then we need to clear it. Getting all the details that has some part of it, and we let some of the juice come out, so to speak. But it becomes an irrelevancy. Okay? The things, the connection that's been made now and everything coming together, so the unconscious mind, or I'll give you this, I'll give you the logical version of what's happening. When you try and talk to people consciously, you'll screw it up every time. Where are your words when you don't need them? Unconsciously. Okay? So that as an understanding, it means that every time you talk to someone, you're unconscious. And you know what happens when we're trying to do stuff unconsciously, consciously? Sound like a bumbling fool. So if you find yourself in a group trying to think, what am I going to say? What am I going to do? It's like trying to figure out how am I going to breathe next. You do it unconsciously. And we've just reminded her of that. And we've also reminded her to basically say, who says you have to get it all right? Even confident people screw it up sometimes. And now she's given us 2 or 3 ways out of it. She said, I'll just stop caring. Or maybe it doesn't have to be wrong. Or maybe I'll just avoid it altogether. The very fact that she doesn't care so much about it means we're on the right track. Do you see all that unfolding, folks? Okay. How are you feeling about everything right now? What are you smiling about? Serious therapy.
yeah.
Be serious, why don't you? How do you feel about the high school stuff right now? Seriously.
It maybe wasn't so bad. Or I know that that period of time, it wasn't a long period of time.
Right, it's quick, right?
But it feels like it took a whole lifetime.
It took a whole lifetime. How does it feel now?
I don't know. It doesn't feel any different. It just doesn't seem as significant anymore.
It doesn't feel as different, right?
Well, I don't have a different feeling for it.
That's fine.
I just feel like it's
It
not
happens, right?
significant for my present right now.
Good place to be, yeah?
It's a better place. Yeah.
I agree. She's very proud of where you went. Now, something interesting happens. You probably would have seen it because we're up here. So I asked Svetlana that question. She went into a face like, oh, yeah, this is good now. It was like a feeling of power. You could see it in her face. Hopefully we picked it up on the camera. So now that you don't have to deal with the past as much as you were, and you can spend all this time in the future not caring,
Yeah.
what does that mean for you as a person, as a professional, as you grow up?
Maybe nothing's stopping me now.
Place to be, right? I'll let that settle in. See the connection just made? Okay. We've got plenty more. These are softer, I've heard. There you go. Okay. Any questions? Okay. The places where we get caught is when clients keep wanting to refer back to the old. Sometimes there's enough to let it out. But again, we were aiming for spotting unconscious moments, but this ended up being just a more uptime chat, just with a little bit of connection through it. Okay. Has anyone got any questions? Have you got any questions for me?
No.
Probably safer not to, right? Have to go through that long, arduous talk again. Okay. Any questions at all about what we did then? Because you guys are going to go away and do, not this. Who knows what will come up. But you guys are just going to play with the principles themselves. Okay. But I think we give Svetlana a big round of applause. That was very proud. Okay. Not an easy thing to do up the front. Definitely not. It takes a lot of courage. That's not me just saying that. That's the honest truth. Okay. So what I would like us to do now, folks, is we're going to have an exercise, but we're going to take it up a notch. Okay. What I would like you to do, and this will be one of the most difficult things you do, is I want you to have a conversation with somebody that is nothing therapeutic. Have an everyday conversation like, how was your weekend? What did you get up to? I went here, I went there. Then what I want you to do is you both have to play a role of the talkie and the talker. Okay? Okay? Or the talked to. I don't want it to be a monologue like, what did you do on the weekend? Who was there? What did you eat? What did you drink? It's not an FBI interview. What I want is for you to have a conversation like, oh, no, Joe Blogs, how was your weekend? Glad you came today, blah, blah, blah. I went here, I went there. So the problem was smoking, wasn't it, Joe? And I just want to see how easy we can transition into a therapeutic state without doing this. So, Joe, how was your weekend? Yeah, it was really good. I went to the beach with the kids. Oh, my kids love the beach. So, Joe, what's the problem? Very obvious, right? We want to somehow transition into that. Okay? So guys, I'll give you 3 minutes to do this. Just have a conversation, watch the unconscious moments, then we're going to add little bits to it. Okay? Very well done. Okay.